Okay. We'll get into it. I actually have a little bit of an alteration on item number one already.
Mhm.
So we were set to give a quick update next week at the State Board of Education, but DIAA made a very, big decision or announcement yesterday. And so they're expecting to be deluged at the State Board next week and asked if we wouldn't mind just holding off completely. Well, and so I guess we'll do a quick update in October now, and rather than September, and then a more comprehensive in November. And I'm not sure if the October meeting date, I'm assuming it's before we meet because we're meeting pretty late in the month,
Yeah, I
right?
think Jenna said they meet on like the third Thursday, so I think they're the week before our consortium
Yeah.
meeting. So it
So
made
it's,
sense to do more comprehensive update in November.
yeah, so it's still true. It's just going to be the October board meeting for a quick update and comprehensive, probably November. So that's it for the State Board of Education update. So
Tizzy, will they be streaming that live, or are they going to record it and post?
I know
How do
that
you
I mean,
participate or watch?
it's Zoom. It's a virtual meeting, so everyone can participate live. I've definitely been to a couple that are well attended, and usually sort of it's done very similar to the way our local school board meetings are done.
So just grab it off the public calendar.
I think so, yeah. And
Okay.
and maybe we can make sure we put that to our calendar too.
Mhm.
Just so that people know where we're showing up for things. That's good to have on our calendar for folks to see. I definitely, just as or maybe I can bring this back in public engagement, but I definitely felt the engagement yesterday around, I think the graphic was exactly what we talked about and needed. But I was definitely getting texts from people about how to engage with it. People do struggle to find the agenda, so I don't know if making sure that's linked from the public calendar into our Google. I know maybe updating the website itself might be, I don't know how easy that is to do capacity wise, but in the Google Calendar, maybe we can just pop the link for the agenda in it, because I was definitely getting some questions about that.
Okay.
But it was great to see people engaging, and I remembered or realized that I could invite people to like our Reading page, and I did, and we're growing.
Yeah, it was like 119 people have liked your page. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what took me. So we should all be doing that. I'll just put that out there. You can invite all of your friends to like Reading, because we are moving into a more publicly engaging orientation, and we want to make sure we have people's eyes on it. All right, cool. So work group updates. Kelly,
Are they also sorry?
Sorry,
Are
go
they
ahead.
also able, when our other meetings are recorded, can they watch that Zoom recording somewhere? Because I know that when I've looked on the main Solutions for Schools website, like I can see the agenda, minutes, the calendar of when things are coming up. But to be able to go back and hear either audio or video, I haven't located that.
Haley.
Yeah, I tried to upload the videos on our website, but it says the file size is too big. So I'm going to go back and try to either maybe upload the audio or ask like our website person if we can like compress the files to upload the videos somehow. Or either we could go back and upload them on Facebook and then like at least link to them from the website. So there's some way to watch the videos.
Yeah.
Or
Facebook
is that something? Is
Go
that
ahead.
something you could also link with like maybe YouTube to increase like the bandwidth of it?
I wonder about that. I don't know a lot about how that works, and I don't know if we have an expert that we can lean on, but it does seem like for a lot of our public meetings that we do in the Senate, that if we can broadcast on YouTube, and then I'm assuming that comes with a fairly easy ability to save that YouTube there on YouTube, and then seems like that would create more access. So I don't know how to find out information through Zoom, like how easy is it to do that, to just live stream it on YouTube and keep it there.
Right.
I'm not techie enough to know either, but I know I've seen it done in a lot of different places now, so I know some way.
Yeah.
Somebody.
So that's, yeah. So if you have a pro account, I'm using my headphones, so I hope you can hear me. I feel like I'm shouting.
Sure.
With a pro account, when you schedule a new meeting, you can choose to stream live on YouTube and or Facebook.
Mhm. Okay, so it's kind of odd. It's just a matter of choosing one or the other.
But it's when you schedule the meeting. So if
Okay.
you don't choose it when you create the meeting in Zoom, then you're not able to add it later. That's been my experience. So
Mhm.
I don't know if there is a pro account that's available.
Yeah, UD has a
Or,
pro account.
okay.
Mhm.
That's something
I
IT
know
can
that we
help.
have them in Colonial, but like if Jeff's on the meeting maybe, but
We can find out.
it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yes.
wondering, do they just get uploaded as sort of random videos, or if we had a YouTube page? Like, I wouldn't want them to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would want them all to collectively be in the same space. That's what I'm kind of wondering too.
That's a good question. I think, who's our
We can
IT
figure it
guy? Rather than just sort of have to guess, I'm sure that maybe there's someone with IT who's probably done it 20 times now, right? But YouTube does seem like the most accessible platform, like for reposting and streaming and all that kind of thing. So if that's an easy, just sort of switch we can flip and then post that link around, that seems like it would be a great solution. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe there's,
I'll look into it. I'll probably ask Sarah Prague.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she'll know. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be hard. Yeah, I'll look into it.
yeah, we got a lot of questions, probably the most questions about watching it later, because last night was like one of those triple booked kind of nights where everybody had 20 different meetings going on at once, and people definitely wanted to see the presentation. So yeah, that would be a good one. Sorry, I know I jumped to public engagement a little bit, but it's relevant. That's what we got going on. So Kelly, and I don't think I see Fran, but and I don't know if I see Mike or Noel. Well, they're teaching, or Noel's teaching.
Noel's teaching, yeah. Yeah.
So Kelly, how's it going? Like nothing, no new meeting. We had the new meeting before last week.
Yeah. So we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. I think you and I have missed each other the past 2 weeks. There was good conversation around the grow our own piece and adding the paraeducator piece and others into the recommendation. So they're all on board with that. There was a conversation about what do we mean by diverse educators and how specific do we want to get?
Mhm.
Or do we want to keep it not broader, but more along what, it's just a question of how specific do we want to get? Do we say, since we're working with the proposals around City of Wilmington students and teachers, we could say something along the lines of, sorry, I'm yelling in the background.
Didn't even hear it. What, like reflective of the student population or something like that?
Does it reflect the student population? Do we want to be really specific? And say,
Well, so the educators work group is now leaning into the public engagement part, right? So I mean, that seems like a good, point of discussion to encourage public feedback around. Because I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, as we've I think discussed a lot, it's like what does that mean to the impacted community
right.
more than to us?
Right. So we can look into that. And we have, the work group is supposed to be reaching out to a list of stakeholders. I think it's been a little bit tough with schools starting and a lot of our members being educators. So we might extend some of that. We had looked at the end of September of having all of the engagement done, but I think we might need to extend that to give everybody a bit more time to reach out and talk to others. I'll keep you updated on that. But
That sounds good. I mean, one advantage the educators work group has, given our focus on having the basic goals in place for October meeting and then final goals for December, is that educators work group has had its goals in place for a long time and are just focusing and further developing, right? So
right, and we're working, and we can still even move forward with some of the implementation steps and writing some of those up even as we're getting public engagement, because we can finesse and change and align with whatever we hear. So
and this is my last question, then I'll let other people ask and comment, but is the group, and I apologize, I haven't been able to make it to the recent meeting, but looking at the costs associated with the recommendations being made and possible asks that we might be making as a consortium?
that is on the list of things we will
Yeah.
be looking at, yes. So one of them was, if you look at both the two recommendations we're digging into, the Grow Our Own is a little bit more, I don't want to say grassroots, but some grassroots pieces, possibly not as expensive or as many funds. The whole school PD will definitely have money
Big.
to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're
I mean, not
reaching
good,
out.
but we want to, of course, know that, and we want to be able to make
Yep.
those asks. I know we made that, clear to all the work groups that we want to be able to make clear recommendations legislatively, but also if there's any budget requests associated with our goals. Matt and I did talk to the governor's office. Was that yesterday? I can't tell time anymore, as always, but just to let them know that we were looking at priorities and looking at the cost of priorities.
Oh, great. Okay. Yep. And no, definitely that's on our to-dos and to ads list.
Great. Cool. Anybody have any other questions or comments for the educators work group? Okay.
Beginning of October. So.
All right. Cool. Awesome. All right. Funding and governance had a big night last night. And yeah, way to go. So I know Namdi's here and Haley, and of course Namdi and I both had to hop off relatively early in the meeting. But I was getting good feedback on text. So do you want to just run us through how it went and how things are going overall? Either of you?
Yeah,
Uh,
I wanted to thank the team for holding it down, and I was paying attention on my other computer to the comments and the feedback and the questions, and it seemed like it's very engaged discussion. And the one, I guess, direct question I had, and I guess follow-up, was about Senator Sturgeon, her comments about the referendum work, that she has a group, and I mean, that blew my mind. I was trying to figure out where that's going, but to make sure we reach out to them. I know our chamber, everyone knows we're trying to push forward with that work. So it'd be interesting to see what they're doing over in that chamber and make sure we bring her into our fold.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
great.
I thought the meeting went really well. People were super engaged, had a lot to say, a lot of questions. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I was happy.
Yeah.
Others were too.
Good morning. This
Oh, hey,
is
Ray.
good morning, everyone. I listened. I thought the preparation was really good. It's really dense, complicated subject matter, and people asked a lot of good questions. I was not aware that. Well, Senator Lockman, were you aware of this referendum group?
Is that part of the Friends of Christina School District? Is that the same group, or is this another group?
Oh, I don't know. She didn't go into detail, but that's their people that are working on that with Sturgeon were on the call.
Who? So I mean, obviously. Sorry, go ahead.
I got a sense that I don't think that it is the same Friends of Christina.
Oh,
There
wow.
may be some overlap, but I think that they were more from further north, like like the Brandywine School District area.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. No,
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. I knew that the Focused, FOCSD, had kind of highlighted in their efforts wanting to revisit, how we do referenda. I did not know there was a Brandywine area group doing it as well. I'm actually really happy to hear that our meeting is able to connect some dots and bring together more stakeholder groups that are focused on the same goal. I think that is such a good sign. If we all are on the same page about what we want to accomplish. So no, I didn't know about one other than the one that was focused, the Focused group.
Yeah, as a parent for Brandywine, this is the first time also hearing of it. So I will be following up. But I do think the meeting last night was very informative, and I really liked the way that each of the CFOs took a piece and dissected it for the presentation.
Yeah, there were some commingling of terms that I think you know, when you're trying to educate people can be not as helpful for those of us that are advocating for student needs-based funding approach in the state of Delaware, because the unit count was not every speaker, but one of the speakers, a CFO, I think he was, said that that the units are based on need, and that's not true. It's based on enrollment.
Right. I mean, it gets a little fuzzy, right? Because there's some that are,
Well, it can get fuzzy for people just from an advocacy standpoint. The commingling of terms and nomenclature and concepts is not helpful from an advocacy standpoint. So, I mean, I did put a couple of things in the chat to kind of, I wasn't really trying to clarify, but I was pointing out that unit count is not driven based on needs. It's being driven based on enrollment. And that's a major demarcation in terms of those of us that are advocating for systemic change. Yeah. So, and it was a little awkward at times. I felt like who was the secretary of what? The finance person from the state.
Rick Geisenberg.
Yep.
Yeah, he was trying to make his case for certain things that are being debated in court. I didn't think that was appropriate.
Oh, on the court case specifically. Okay, I guess it can make sense.
No, it wasn't positioned that way. But if you know what some of the arguments that are being made,
right?
I
Well,
didn't think that was appropriate.
Well, as a consortium.
Other than that, I thought that the preparation was really outstanding on the part of the young people that presented the information.
Thank you.
Yes,
nice.
take your applause, Haley. And no, I mean, in a lot of ways, and I know we're still evolving into this, I felt like it was such a good example of what I think Reading can and should be. Just being able to repost that graphic and have it say the Reading Consortium is supporting this sort of publicly educational opportunity, and having people who hadn't before maybe take note of that is really positive. I think it's just a great, use of our purpose, and will help us, fulfill our mission. So great job. I hope we can do more of that. All right, cool.
I want to pop in on that regarding the use of common terms, or making sure that we are using the same terms. So Roger Harrison and I were both serving on on a different committee, and we were discussing the importance of having everyone who's working on the subcommittees and on the whole team using common terminology, because when we're not, it does create confusion, particularly with people from the community who may be joining the meetings. So we need to have common language.
Or sort of a process to kind of check ourselves when we deviate. I mean, because a lot of us are going to come in with different kinds of jargon, and things are going to pop out. But I feel like, being able to correct and define.
One of the statewide teams on which I'm serving, it's an early childhood team. On our website, we have a glossary of terms. So as our teams are using different terms, we're actually adding them to this Google Doc that's linked. So anyone who's attending any of the meetings can refer to that, and we all have a shared understanding of what we mean when we say X.
That's a great idea. I mean, especially when we know we might have people watching these things.
Yes.
Recordings.
Yes, because we come to this we're all heavily involved in the work on which we focus, but we have to know that people may be popping in. This might be their first meeting. So to educate the public and really each other.
Well, right. I mean, I think sometimes we talk past each other in a lot of these things. I forget where I was reading that, but it made so much sense we might be using the same words, but not at the same time. So it's like a lot about how do we actually make sure we're using a common language and just that we're talking about the same things. I mean, that was the reason we went through the process of defining educational equity, right? So there's a lot of other words flying around. So, or even doing the definitional exercise with terms underneath equity, like anti-racism. So being consistent, I think, with that is an interesting idea. Maybe, I mean, do you think, Don, that's something we might borrow rather than making?
Sure, I could share it. I mean, it's in early childhood.
Okay.
It's from the preschool development grant team. So I'm not sure how many of the same terms, I mean, how many terms in common there would be, but I can certainly share it so you can see what I mean.
Yeah, because I think on this engagement aspect, I think it's so huge. I think the fact that we keep prioritizing it is going to be one of the things that makes a difference for the consortium's work. But then we're also so aware of our capacity. So we have very lofty goals and standards of what we want to do. But we also want to make sure that we're not making possible ones for Haley.
I'll find that and share it.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any other feedback on funding and governance for today? Well, I'll ask this after we talk about social determinants, but I have sort of a general kind of engagement related question. So social determinants, I know Matt has to hop off, or no, Matt wouldn't be Matt, it would be Ray and Jason. How's it going?
Is Matt on the call?
He had to hop off.
I'll be able to stay on, but I'm happy to have Ray or Jason give the update.
Okay.
Why don't you give the update, Matt?
The quick one.
Okay. So we are, our next meeting is on September 24th. And what we had decided after the last meeting was to try to have the members of the smaller groups of the members of the working group try to put together some one-page documents in 3 different areas that would provide some more concrete general proposals for the working group to talk about on September 24th, just to start us along the road to what we've been talking about and what's even been mentioned on this call, which is to have some at least interim recommendations for the larger consortium by the end of the calendar year. So we have 3 of the working group members, one of whom is Dawn, who are helping to organize those with other volunteers from the working group. And again, the goal is to basically have some very very succinct one-page documents that talk about why these particular areas are important, what success looks like, and some general outlines of what we might want to do in those 3 areas, so that the larger working group can discuss them on the 24th and revise them if necessary. But otherwise, after that meeting, to then go turn around and try to start adding some additional detail, and to basically keep that process going. So ultimately, this working group can make some more detailed recommendations to the consortium for its consideration in December.
Thank you.
I shared a webinar that's being hosted next week around culturally relevant pedagogy and data collection. I sent it to Jason, to you. Jason, maybe you can forward it to Haley. I don't know what the capacity is for the number of attendees, but it was shared with us by Tamara Smith, who's the executive of the Teach for Delaware.
Good. I mean, that's another topic area that I feel like is very consistently surfacing, and I think we've even heard a commitment from the Department of Education's Office of Equity and Innovation to at least be looking at standards. And so it's, again, I think that's another hot iron area for us to be focused on striking for sure for that group. So that sounds good.
Hey, Tizzy.
Yes.
Before we go to the next topic, I wanted to share, Dawn reminded me that I actually, not just me, but the IPA and DSU team did start to do sort of that glossary and list of terms. I think I started one in June, and then I don't know, it was a project that I wanted to do, and then it fell off a little bit, but I'll quickly just share that. And this is not anywhere near final. This is completely draft, but this was just something started. And so it was sort of, up here was just the directions sort of to fill those in, but we were sort of starting with a list, and I was kind of taking a lot of terms from things that we've seen and that we've been talking about. So we can definitely add to it, but is this sort of what we're thinking? And then obviously we would go into defining all of them, not just listing them, but.
I mean, yeah, it seems like it to me. I mean, I think, it'd be great to see Dawn's version so we can kind of compare structurally, like what's sort of user friendly in terms of navigating it. But
definitely. This
We
is
have-
like skeleton.
Mhm.
We have one that we're using with our equity team in Colonial. So that would be more appropriate for what we're discussing today. So I'm going to find that link and put that in the chat.
That's cool.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, go back to the agenda.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions about social determinants process? I have sort of a general question around work groups. And again, this is probably going to be something that's like, oh, it sounds like making more work. But I guess we talked a lot last week about the way that we are going to do our best to be more responsive than is typically expected in terms of questions that are raised at meetings, in the chat, verbally by consortium members, or through public comment, I think in particular. And I guess I'm wondering, and this is sort of a capacity question. Uh-oh, there goes my dog. Is this reapplying this to the work group as well? Are we thinking that that's possible?
So I missed the conversation last week, sorry. But I definitely think as questions come up, we can share those from the work, at least my work group. Let's see, why not? Right, Haley, Jason?
Mm-hmm. So something that we're going to try with this last funding meeting is either today or early next week, we're going to send out a Google form and just say, like, if there were any questions or thoughts that, weren't answered at the work group meeting, please submit them, and we'll try to get them answered. Dawn, did you have
Hi.
something?
So I did reach out to Senator Sturgeon to ask her about the referendum work on what she's working, and she said she's trying to log into the Zoom right now so she can explain to us.
Oh, cool.
So
Hey!
I'm not sure why
She's here.
Is she here?
She's here.
Thanks, Dawn.
Yay!
Awesome.
Great.
Hi,
Good morning.
is this a good time for me to jump in?
Yeah, well, we mentioned you and we were looking for some clarity. So, absolutely.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, I just got the text from Dawn. Thank you, Dawn, for reminding me. I just came from a site visit, but I have a little time. So there's this group of residents that all live in the Christina School District, but they're in the suburbs of Christina. They're out in like the Pike Creek, Newark area. And so that's why you really haven't heard about us before now, because I understand that your job here is, to work on the schools that are in the Wilmington city limits, but there is some overlap, I guess. So what happened was they had invited Dan Shelton, that's the new superintendent of Christina, right? Okay. To join in their, this is sort of a very grassroots group, I want to say. And I've been attending their meetings, and they'd asked Dan Shelton, and Dan told them that he could make it because he was attending your meeting last night. And then the group decided that, oh, maybe we should all attend the Reading Consortium to see what they're doing. And so that's how it all came about. So we all decided, instead of having our regular monthly meeting, that we were going to join the Reading Consortium meeting last night, and we did. And so as far as what you might want to know is, this group is parents of students who go to Christina and other stakeholders. And some are teachers in Christina. I got roped in because one of them was a constituent of mine, and they are very much in favor of eliminating, having to go out for a referendum to raise money for our schools. And they just decided to put together this group. Again, it's totally grassroots, and they included maybe, I'm friends with one of the teachers, and she thought of me. So I joined because, as Senator Lockman knows, I'm very much in favor of this. So last night when we were listening in on the Reading Consortium meeting, at some point referendum reform was mentioned. So I just thought I would share that we all happened to be on listening in, and that we were all very interested in referendum reform. And if there's any way we can partner, we would love to do that. But I know that this group very specifically wants to see referendums go away completely. They would like school boards to be empowered to raise local taxes as needed to fund schools. So long as we have this kind of dual funding system where it's partly state and partly local property taxes.
Right.
I mean, I think that their dream vision would be that the state pays for schools fully, and we didn't even have this local portion. But I've tried to explain to them that that kind of a change is so drastic that it's unlikely to happen anytime soon. So that we're probably better off focusing on at least, keeping the system as it is. I mean, hey, if you guys think we can do better, that'd be great. But could we at least get rid of the referendum and just empower school boards, to raise taxes? And I know school boards don't want to. Many of them are against it. And, this is a really, really, really eager group, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear all the reasons why it's difficult. They're just like, let's do it. Why can't we do it? It's ridiculous that, the community has to go out begging for money just to fund our schools. So that's it.
Well, good. Okay, that's helpful. I mean, it sounds like that definitely that you all showed up in the right place, so that the right place to be as a stakeholder is with the funding and governance work group, which was the meeting last night. So that's definitely the right location. And then, and it sounds like it is just that either it is focused, the Friends of Christina School District, or it's a splinter group or a new group. It sounds like it's Friends of Christina.
Yeah, it's just its own. It's splinter. Yeah. It's just so there are people like Mary Scorsese who are part of Friends of Christina. She's in it, but I don't think all of them are associated with that group.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Some are, some aren't. Yeah. So at some point I was going to fill you in if that was going on, but they were still pretty new and trying to figure out what their vision exactly was. They just know they want to get rid of referendum, but they're not totally clear on what we would be able to replace it with and what's doable.
Well, that's good. So they can weigh in. I mean, the work Nambi's doing is definitely oriented towards that, and because our scope really is, it's Wilmington and Northern Newcastle County. So it's all, we're all in together, but obviously our priority is, equity for our Wilmington student, and they do attend schools out in the county as well. So that's interesting. Well, I'm glad that you all made it to the meeting last night, and hopefully it, will continue to be a good stakeholder engagement there. Thank you for the clarity, Laura.
Oh, you're welcome. now that I'm on, I'll just quietly listen in if I'm allowed to.
Yeah,
Is
oh
this
no,
an
this
open
is a public meeting and we literally we're doing our meeting planning. It's exciting.
Okay. I'll be quietly watching and listening so I can be better, in the loop of what Reading Consortium is up to.
Okay, good. All right, cool. So where were we? We got up to research underway.
Yeah, and this actually flows nicely with what we were just talking about. So the next funding work group meeting on the 24th is going to be sort of our intro meeting about referendum reform. We'll hopefully have a similar presentation like we did about the Funding 101 on referendum reform, what it is, recent efforts, so like Jake's bill, HB 129, and sort of the stakeholder opinions about that, who was sort of for it, who was against it, and then we're sort of interested in hearing about what the work group members think. So that would be a great meeting, Senator Sturgeon, for you and that group to attend too. That would be awesome. And hopefully we'll be able to connect before that, because maybe we'll let people, we're hoping to, hear directly from the people who have opinions about referendum reform too, like maybe DSEA and the School Boards Association and stuff like that. So
yeah, when we tried to run that bill, I think I was the Senate prime on Jake's bill. At that time, I think DSEA was on board. The chiefs, most of them were on board. I don't know if as a whole they were, but individual ones that we talked to were on board.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the day of the hearing, I don't know why, I had a conflict, I couldn't be there, but I heard the hearing was pretty bad and there was a lot of opposition. And so, well, at least now we know what opposition exists out there, and we have to figure out how we overcome that. But the one on the 24th, is there another, because I just looked on my calendar to make sure I had it. Is there another meeting about social determinants at the same time? Because my calendar says something about that.
Yes,
Yes,
they are at
okay.
the same time. We try not to overlap, but that one does, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a lot. We have
Okay.
3 work groups that are working towards reporting out in October with priorities. So yeah, we haven't always been able to keep
All
them
right,
off.
just so I can tell that other group is, if we go on the website, is there a link to join the Zoom meeting on governance? Is that the one I should tell them to join that day?
Yep.
Funding and governance. Yes.
And
Funding
the
and
link,
governance, okay.
the Zoom link, it probably isn't up yet, but should be within a week before the meeting on the website.
Okay. All right, I will let them know
It might
that's a
be
good
up,
one for them to attend.
Don, thank you for posting the definitions. This is cool. All right, I'm gonna take a look at that when I have more time. All right, great. Okay, so that's research update. Thank you, Haley. And then of course we are now keeping the public engagement piece as a standing part of this meeting. I really enjoyed the conversation we had on that last week. I'm excited about some of the ideas that we're seeing emerge either directly through the work groups or bigger ideas in terms of how to get more folks to engage in the work we're doing. I think last night was a good example of, that sort of dipping our toe in there just to make sure more people know that it's even happening. We still have some strides to make. I know that Kyle Shepard last week made some excellent, I think, recommendations in particular about our awareness of sort of who shows up naturally or regularly, and making sure that we are intentionally, engaging our impacted communities. I thought that was really helpful for our consideration. And so we see some of that reflected, I think, in the bullets, but just wanted to have it there for us to revisit in case, we always have new folks and at these meetings. If anyone has any further ideas or thoughts that they think we need to consider, we can either hear from you as we move into public comment, or if any, consortium members have any particular ideas or feedback, maybe who weren't part of the conversation last week, now would be a good time to take a look and see what your thoughts are in terms of the ways that we're trying to push ourselves further out into the community, so that whether it's educators or our students or their families, that they know that this work is happening, that there's opportunities to be educated on the issues as well as give input into the solutions that we're crafting. So starting with consortium members and staff, any thoughts on some of the ideas that we came up with and other ways to improve on them?
Well, for the funding meeting, Eugene was able to put sort of the graphic and the text for the funding meeting in the Urban League's like newsletter. So I was really happy to see that. So maybe if that can just, that's like an easy ongoing thing.
Yeah.
I can just connect with Eugene and ask him like who I should always send that to or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see more folks, you know, just as awareness increases, picking it up and sharing it. I think just having a simple graphic that conveys what is occurring in the meeting, it seems to be surprisingly effective in drawing more attention to it, right? So that's really good. And knowing that the Urban League will amplify it, and then of course leaning, you know, looking to see if there's other particular groups we want to make sure amplify it. I mean, not saying we have to go out completely reinventing it, but I think just among our consortium members, we have a lot of organizations represented.
Similarly, if there's a blurb that someone can send me, I can have my staff add it to our PIC newsletter that comes out weekly. And then we can also add the calendar and meeting dates. Like we have a calendar section of things. So we can have that, I can have them add that in, and it continuously run out to our whole network every week, which is huge.
And is it, I mean, so is that, again, always very mindful that a lot of this capacity is Haley, that, you know, we posted to the Facebook, is that enough? Or is it like attaching it to an email that goes out to all consortium members and saying, hey, I mean, is that sort of a feasible extra step, Haley, to like say, look, we've got these graphics, and attaching it on maybe a meeting notice email that would normally go out anyway, or?
Right.
Just food for thought.
Another food for thought thing is maybe having all of us add something in our signature line that links like to the web page or to something else that people can just link whenever they want information.
That's a good idea.
Or even like hyperlink, maybe like the picture or logo thing, and then like hyperlink that out to something else, so then people could click on that, and then that main page comes up where they can access the archives or the agendas or the meeting dates, something like that.
I actually really like that. I would definitely put that in my email. But again, that sort of Sarah Prag question, is there, can she make us a little graphic? Like, I mean, she basically made a logo for Reading's, sort of, I mean, in the sense that it's represented on the larger graphic. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling it up. But I like that. I like both of those. Just making sure that our consortium members know that there are graphics that they can be accessing and sharing. And I don't know if it's, again, I want it to be convenient to the capacity that we have. And I also want it to be done in a way that folks will do it. If they're just going to reshare it on Facebook, but not download it from an email and post it somewhere else, then Facebook is enough. But we just need to make sure that our members and members of the public who want to engage with this and get others to engage more, that they know it's there. So again, everybody inviting folks to like the page is useful. We got a couple hundred new folks just yesterday, 150 maybe. Great. Thank you, Dawn, for posting that. And thank you, Haley. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think we covered that pretty extensively last week. We know that that's a priority for all of our work groups once they get to the setting and priority stage to think about how to get that public feedback. So we'll keep revisiting that weekly. And if no one on the team has any further comments or questions, we can move into public comment. With plenty of time. Okay, so I know we have a few folks from the public, so I'd like to invite anyone to raise your hand or make it known in the chat if you'd like to take a couple minutes just to offer any thoughts or even questions. that would be welcome. If not, that's okay too. Okay, cool. All right. Well, if everybody's good, thank you all for being here, as always, especially for those of you who are external to the team. I like getting the feedback. I like seeing, you know, the ideas that come. So feel free to send any thoughts our way, and you know, we'll just keep chugging along and see everybody next Friday to keep it moving. All right, bye. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Oops.